Well, I guess I wrote it already, so I'll go ahead and say it. On the chat, I said, "Good morning, everyone." And I suppose every morning is a good morning in the fact that you have a morning. But we should probably also have another morning type this morning. And I thought about spelling it this way: Mourning. Mourning as in mourning for loss. Today is the 16th of June, 2020. Welcome as you come in. I'm Roy Potter. I do have my Second Amendment cup, and it is full and hot with caramel cream coffee. And it's really hot. Well, you see the background this time. We're in a deluge of evil. And in case you want to know where this picture was taken, I was just back from overseas, and this was back in 2002, and my wife and I went to Niagara Falls, and there's, on the Canadian side, there's a tunnel, and you can go through the tunnel and you can get right underneath the falls, and that's what you're seeing there. But I think it's apropos for what we're going to talk about today, because we are in a deluge of evil. And you notice the second part of my title was Patriots, in quotes, in control. You know, when we see something written or spoken, and it's being spoken or written to us, we think, we apply it to ourselves, and well, we should. But we should also know that deception is often at play. There's an old saying, of course, one man's terrorist is another man's patriot. Well, the same goes for the word patriot. Who actually is saying that they're a patriot? And what I'm referring to, of course, is the Q movement, where they're constantly saying, this Q character or characters, that don't worry, patriots are in control. Well, if this is in control, first of all, that's a problem. And second of all, whose patriot are you in reality? And if that makes some Q people want to hang up and go away, that's all the better for me. So that's okay with me if you do. Edelson James, thanks for being here. Any of my other mods coming in, I want to thank you ahead of time for being here and helping to take care of me, since I can't run the show all on my own. So again, if this whole thing was a plan and this is the way it had to come out, well, first of all, they're not patriots that I want to have anything to do with. So we need to ask ourselves, who are they really talking to when they say patriots are control? Who are they really talking to, and who are they really referring to? That's all I'll say about Q this morning. I'm pretty disgusted with the way it's sedated, just like Donald Trump. Maybe Trump is behind it, because it's doing the same thing. It's sedating the people into thinking that Trump is doing all these wonderful things on the inside. And that is manifestly, expressly, explicitly, and implicitly not the case. I talked a lot in the past about the incongruities and the illogic and unreason within the government, particularly the federal government, and that it seemed to me, and I think most of you, that this government has been not of, by, and for the people, but of, by, and for criminals and those who seek to destroy the perfect law of liberty. If you follow Chris Ann Hall, and if you follow Mark Pantano, not Mark Levin, not that I have anything against him, but he's a choir boy for the Republicans. But Chris Ann Hall and Mark Pantano will tell you that just because Congress passes a law, a statute, an act, or just because the president signs an executive order, those are not going to be able to supersede the Constitution. But we've been made to believe that, and Congress does it all the time, and the president now signs these ridiculous EOs, all the time. And everybody claps and thinks how great it is. What do you all think about Kushner and Ivanka being in the White House and seemingly being able to do anything and everything they want? And they're leftist Democrats, social justice warriors, and worse, which I'm not prepared to talk about right at the moment. But Trump didn't do it because he was just practicing nepotism. No. This is because that's the agenda, and it's always been the agenda. And anybody who doesn't see that now is really fooling themselves. I don't know if it's true, I haven't been able to verify it. But apparently there was an article, I think it's called The Blooming Bee or something like that, so I don't know about its origins or how good it is. And I didn't hear the speech. Maybe some of you did. Apparently Trump said that his civil war would be better than Lincoln's. And the intimation was, of course, that, this is going to really free the blacks, I think is what he was trying to get to. Well, why is he pandering to that? Why is he pandering to that? We've been had bad. I've asked a lot of people who have a lot more influence than I do to please open their eyes, unstop their ears, and to start calling out Trump for his wrongdoings, his supporting of evil. And if you don't think that's what's happened, there are always a few good things. How many times have I said that the devil will tell you the truth 99 times to get you to believe one lie? Just because Trump has done a few things that appear, I'm not even sure they appear to be good, doesn't mean that everything he plans is going to be good. Then there's the argument, which even my son has made, well, Trump isn't there to be good or bad. He's just there because he's a tool of God to expose the evil. Oh, okay, that's fine, but that still doesn't mean I don't call him out. Warp Speed, Operation Warp Speed is continuing. Anybody that says that Trump isn't for vaccines, you don't understand how he uses his tactics so that he can blame somebody else so he doesn't have to take responsibility. That's Trump's. I think that's Trump's real mark in his administration and possibly his whole life, that he's never responsible for anything. It's always somebody else's fault. The mark of a true narcissist, mark of a true sociopath. And now look where we are. The Maoist revolution, if you want to call it a Bolshevik revolution, I guess that's true too, but it's really Maoist in character, is in full swing now. And it's about ready to move into a kinetic, in fact it may have already done that, a kinetic war. The division in the country is unbelievable. There are people who are virtue signaling this Black Lives Matter thing who never would have done this before. The ideological, psychological war on the American psyche has been very effective. And our institutions that were supposed to be there to protect the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and our perfect law of liberty not only failed, but overtly and covertly fought against us. First of all, for their own power, because they thought they would be able to amass power to themselves, just like any government does. But then it's bowed the knee to Baal. Baal, I prefer. And the deluge of evil, ladies and gentlemen, is just getting started. I've heard a lot of other commentators say, you need to get ready. You need to be prepped right now. You need to get out of the cities, etc., etc. No words in today's world are ever truer than that right now. So there have been those that I've been approaching, asking them to speak out even though it may endanger them for their, losing their followers or their financial support, or get in trouble with. I mean, look at what Mattis is doing. Look at what Patriots is doing. Look at what McChrystal is doing. McMaster. Look at that. And the other generals. Then there was a thing that came out this week, and somebody was saying, well, they can be prosecuted for that under the UCMJ. Yeah, they can, but they won't, because it's part of the way this thing was planned to go down. With Trump's approval, I am certain. Even though he looks like a victim, that's a real handy place to be in, to placate the masses that you're a victim. Oh, sorry, so sorry, Trump, when it's actually we who are the victims. So my words to these other retired and even not so much active duty or reservists, but retired officers and enlisted for that matter, who have been careful about what they've been saying. Oh yeah, if you speak up and do anything like Mattis or McMaster or Petraeus or McChrystal or et cetera have done, yeah, they'll come after you because you're not part of the cabal, at least not on the surface. They didn't get you, I guess. But I think, gentlemen, it really is time that you need to draw the sword. John Cardillo is somebody I follow, and I'm not even sure if he follows me back, and that's not even important to me. My name is not something that people want to associate themselves with, and I've talked about that before. And it doesn't hurt my feelings because, they, and I wrote this out in a tweet the other day, that we all have to be watchmen on the wall, calling out these iniquities and these sins from the housetops. We all need to be Elijah. We all need to be Jeremiah. We all need to be John the Baptist. I am Elijah, John the Baptist, Jeremiah, etc. And the only reason why I wouldn't do it right now is because I'm not so sure that it's going to do any good anymore. And I've talked about that before. But when you get people that say, "Don't tell us that we have to do that," and then they'll quote some scripture to justify it, or even not quote a scripture, but try to justify themselves remaining silent, you're not being courageous. I'm sorry, you're not. And if you don't like that, please leave. But anyway, so I sent out these requests to all these different people, and John was one of them, John Cardillo, saying, please, you really need to start saying this the way it really is. It's obvious it's not the way we hoped. Well, God bless John Cardillo. I want to read you a couple of his tweets. This one was just yesterday, 5 p.m. I'm watching American cities be burned by Marxist terrorists, cops be killed and attacked, their vehicles destroyed and burned while they're in them. I have unwaveringly supported Donald Trump, but a police reform executive order instead of calling out enabling Dems is where it ends for me. Another one, sent out yesterday. I don't know who's advising Donald Trump, but he needs to fire them and act decisively like his gut is telling him. He's giving him the benefit of the doubt there. This one, by the way, was the first one he sent out. The rioters are burning American cities, and he's focused on a police reform executive order. How about restoring law and order? Wasn't he the law and order president? Well, he didn't restore law and order within his own administration. How did any of us think he's going to restore it to the country? You clean up your own house first before you tell somebody else to clean up theirs. You take the beam out of your eye before you tell somebody else to take the splinter out of theirs, however that goes right now. And Colonel Schlichter has been busy, as always. He says, deterring terror and tyranny requires that you buy guns and ammunition. Colonel Manus, buy a lot of guns and ammo. Do we want to go here? No, we don't. They're going to force you into it. But you don't go looking for trouble. My mom used to tell me, she called me Little Roy when she was being nice. When she was mad, she'd say, Royston Edward. She said, hey, Little Roy, you don't go looking for trouble, because if you go looking for trouble, you'll find it. So they don't go looking for it, but you have to be prepared to meet it when it comes to you. And they've made it so that we're the criminals, the ones who stand up for the Constitution, for law and order, for the perfect law of liberty. Indeed, for our very lives and sustenance, we're the guilty ones when we protect ourselves. Somebody asked me the other day, well, why don't you get busy and start organizing people? Well, I've already explained kind of why I wouldn't do that. It would not be wise, not so much for lack of courage or willingness on my part, but knowing that it would be unsuccessful. Because, again, not that I'm blackmailable or anything like that, but it just wouldn't work out. Not on a large scale, anyway. I want to read a couple of other things just so that you see the type of stuff I look at. This is from a Pedro Gonzalez at Ameriticus, I guess is how you say it, on Twitter. Because everyone was saying, Trump's going to give us good Supreme Court justices. He's going to fill the federal courts with good justices. Remember him standing in the campaign with the LGBTQ flags? Remember him telling other countries that they need to decriminalize and legalize homosexuality before, the feds, the U.S. supports them? And I'm going to speak about this whole thing about SCOTUS here in just a few minutes. But I want to read this to you. This is from Pedro Gonzalez. The SCOTUS black pill was needed. The talking point that no matter how many promises made were not kept, by whom? Trump. Or how inactive Trump is, at least we have a conservative SCOTUS, is dead. We must continue raising the question, what'll we get apart from tweets for re-electing Trump? Do I want Biden? Do I want anything else? No. But we have a Maoist, obviously. We have a subversive in the White House. Not that they all haven't been, nearly all of them. But we have to stop kidding ourselves. Let me read this one more time. Because the big thing was, at least Trump will give us a good Supreme Court, right? Let me read this to you again. The SCOTUS black pill was needed. The talking point that no matter how many promises made were not kept, or how inactive Trump is, at least we have a conservative SCOTUS, is dead. That talking point is dead. I'm going to talk more about the SCOTUS here in a few minutes. I might as well say this, following along the heels. I know I'm beating a dead horse again. I'm repeating myself. But here we go with Fauci, Birx, and Gates and all that nonsense and the push for Operation Warp Speed, right? Are they arresting these people that have assisted the Chinese? Well, they ought to start with Hillary Clinton and Obama. The National Pulse put out, the U.S. National Institute said, the U.S. National Institutes of Health fires 54 researchers as ongoing investigation reveals 93% failed to disclose links to the Chinese Communist Party. Fired them? Remember, we're here to make sure that the Chinese model becomes the New World Order. They were fired. Fauci's still there. We know what he did. We know what he's done. Gates isn't a doctor. He's not allowed to practice medicine. He should have been arrested a long time ago. There are literal demons that have entered our world and have done this to us, and we've let them get away with it. Talking about the COVID-19, Wuhan virus and all that, you all know what's happened in Colorado. Actually, Utah is not far behind. A Colorado bill requires re-education for parents who refuse the COVID-19 vaccine for their children. We told you this was coming. Trump doesn't have to mandate the vaccine. Do you understand that? Just like he didn't have to mandate the closing down of everything in the country. All he had to do was give political cover to the Marxists. And then he can say, it's not my fault, I didn't tell him to do it. That's what's happening with this testing and the vaccines. Your tracers are coming to your home. And then if you don't cooperate, they're going to send the police. And if you get past the police, they're going to send the military. Oh, the military, Trump's never going to do that. Look how much. Okay. He shouldn't. The military should be used to surgically take out the leaders of these FTOs and these NGOs that are fighting against us. The people on the streets. No, you can't release the military, at least not the active. The National Guard and the police are where that has to be worked. Even Rich Higgins said the military is not good for counterterrorism. They're okay for counterterrorism, but asymmetric, unconventional guerrilla warfare, countering that defensively. They're good at offensive. They're not good at defensive. So Colorado is now, we've heard about this re-education camps. And here we are, the actual verbiage is in the Colorado bill. There's one similar in Utah. I wouldn't doubt that there are those in California, Oregon, Virginia, Maryland, New York, etc., etc. Washington State. With all the stuff that's going on in Washington State, Inslee up there sends out a tweet, his concern is COVID-19. There was a tweet that came out the other day. It's a reply. I'm not sure who sent it. I took the screenshot, but I didn't see who sent it. But I want to read it to you because here's some more evidence of how much trouble we're in with this blind trust in this supposed champion of liberty who's been its executioner. Here are several other gems from the erroneous post meme that has been going around with my fact-checking responses. Apparently this is something on Q. I haven't been bothering to follow that Q stuff because, as I've already said, who are they talking about when they say Patriots are controlled? It's obviously not our side. Number one, he will not allow vaccines to be mandatory. The response, President Trump implied, not stated, that there would be no federal mandate for a vaccine. Instead, the issue will be left up to the states, just like the red flag laws, just like all these things that he's been doing, so that he has plausible deniability and will not have to take responsibility, which is, in fact, him not taking responsibility is, in fact, the mark of his presidency. ID 2020. He's addressing that, well, Trump, attacked ID 2020, and this response is, ID 2020 is a private company which Bill Gates is working on full time now. Trump doesn't have the authority to shut down a private company. 3. Canceled the Democrats' House Resolution 6666 bill, known as the COVID-19 Trace Act, that was the basis for Bill Gates' diagnosis and tracking project, which was also canceled. And he says no. The only way Trump could cancel H.R. 666 is to veto it. The Commerce Department just gave one final 90-day waiver to a number of U.S. telecom providers who are still using Huawei technology in their cell towers. He's addressing that he's taken away the 5G from the Chinese, and the fact is the Commerce Department has not taken it away from the Chinese. Just a few examples. I'm jumping around here a little bit because I kind of want to. I actually found out the Colorado bill from my daughter who lives in Colorado, and she sent me that, one of my daughters, and who sent it to me. It was in the Denver Post. I even have the text here, and it says, vaccine bill will repeal the right to can you believe repealing a right? How do you repeal a right? The vaccine bill in Colorado will repeal the religious exemption. And then they'll come for you, just like they did when, they're not going after the people that are out there rioting, burning, killing, destroying property, etc. Oh, no, no, no. They don't even require them to wear masks or do social distancing. But you moms, you go out into a playground with your kids, the cops are going to come. No wonder people are losing respect for cops right now. They've lost the moral high ground because they did something they should never have done in the first place. To keep their jobs and their pension. Oh, my. Oh, if I don't do it, they'll just get somebody else to. Wow. Nuremberg all over again. I'm so proud of our, a lot of cops I really like. I do. But these ones who have enforced these health laws, these health regulations, these health tyrannies, should be ashamed of themselves. Here's another one that I thought was kind of interesting. A lot of you are probably thinking, why are you doing all this? Because, we follow you on Twitter. We know all this, Roy. We don't want to hear all this. Well, I'm trying to show you that there's an undercurrent. Trump is losing support. They're afraid. They've made it so that we're afraid of the Democrat leftists, Biden in particular, who probably won't be the actual candidate when this thing gets down to the wire. They've got somebody else waiting in the sidelines, and I'm not sure it's Clinton. I think something else is amiss here. Rooster 286 says, trust the plan. He, Trump, knew all along they were not going to be labeled as terrorists. This comes out where people were saying, well, Trump's going to label Antifa terrorists. Well, that still has not happened, right? Needed to give them time to build up into a military op. It is beyond horrific what he has done to this country and his flock of sheep that still support him. On that note, look what they did up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. That's how it should be done. The people, everybody got armed because there was going to be a demonstration there by the BLM and Antifa, so everybody in the city got armed and were out on the streets. There's a video about it on YouTube. And it says, Americans taking responsibility for their liberty and security safety. What's even better is local law enforcement and government encourages it. This is how to keep military out of this and honor states and individual rights. And I just got to bring this up. Amazing Polly's watching this. I've been warning about the generals, especially the 4 chiefs of staff. And all of them, really. For a long time, and I don't know why she didn't say it. But I've been pointing this out for a long time, and then there were some tweets about the fact that I've been warning about this, and then Amazing Polly wrote me, and she said, I wish I have seen your warnings about Millie. I thought he was a strong man's man. Boy, was I fooled. It really is a show. It's to keep us totally, we don't know where to turn anymore. That's a psychological military operation, in case you all don't know it. And they're all in on it. They're not really fighting with each other. Do you understand that? It's to keep you neutered, unable to act, not sure where to go, not sure who to trust. Make you ineffective. And I got to bring up, because I did send it out on my community board the other day. If you go to community up in the tabs, you'll see a post I did there. I tweeted it out as well. Nancy Morganhart put out a thing on Craig Sawyer's Contraland. And she says, this will break your heart. And you can hear the emotion in her voice as she gives a synopsis of that. She's originally from Mexico, apparently. So it really struck home to her. A guy by the name of Michael, when this thing came out on the Colorado bill requiring re-education for parents who refuse the COVID ID, he said something very interesting. He said, they're doing the whole biblical thing as fast as possible. They are. They're coming after us. This is the evil side. And then there's a situation, Colonel Manus addressed as well as some others. There's a really bad dude. I can't even read his whole thing here. His name it's called the Palmer Report. And he put out a bunch of tweets the other day saying the conservatives should be rehabilitated, sent into re-education camps. I'll just read part of one of them. We should rehabilitate any conservatives who are willing to try. So the ones that aren't willing to try, what are they going to do to them? Get what he's saying here. This is Weatherman Underground stuff. This is Bill Myers stuff from the Palmer Report. We should pay for them to undergo therapy and retraining so they can understand the world around them. But first we must get them out of positions of influence because they are infringing on the real world, etc., etc. Wow. I don't even think I want to touch the rest of this. It's just too inflammatory. It's just too inflammatory. Let's talk about SCOTUS and what they did just yesterday. We all knew that they wouldn't act on the Second Amendment. We all knew they wouldn't support that. That was an unwritten agreement amongst all of them because they knew Roberts wouldn't go along with it. The SCOTUS isn't the final word on your rights. You are. Let me say that again. SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, is not the final arbiter of your rights. You are. We are. They, as I read earlier, Trump's big accomplishments were what? Financial, the economy, which he tanked deliberately without so much as a second opinion. If you're told that you have a terminal illness, what do you do? What are you instructed to do? Go find a second opinion. He didn't even bother. He just destroyed the country. He just took it down. It was his job. He was to oversee that, all the while pretending to be the victim. The other big accomplishment was supposed to be that, he's packing the courts, the federal courts, with good judges, including the Supreme Court. And we saw what happened yesterday. No support for the Second Amendment. They didn't hear one case. And then the most insidious of all of it. I was thinking about labeling this video this morning, this live stream. Women's liberation was never about women's rights. I wanted to spend the whole time talking about that because you should all know that I'm sexist, that I don't think women should be put in certain places where they could be harmed, where their chance to be mothers is taken from them, where their chance to be a woman, a wife, is taken from them. I think you all understand how I feel about that. If you don't, and if you don't like it, well, oh well. Oh, the freedom, a woman's got to have her career, a woman's got to have this, a woman's got to have that, got to be like a man. Wear the pants. Well, what did SCOTUS do yesterday? They just flushed down the toilet all reference to women's rights. Oh, they'll use it to their advantage because they want to debase society. Who was it that Satan, for lack of a better term, who was it that the serpent, Satan, first approached in the Garden of Eden to debase her, to destroy her? Eve. Oh, but women, we've got to have this, we've got to have that. You have been played. And now you see where it's really going. They want to destroy the relationship between men and women. They want to destroy that sexual relationship, that family relationship. They don't want you to have children. And what's more, men that want to pretend they're women now have more rights than you do. You can't compete with other real women. You have to compete with a man who pretends to be a woman. Oh, you've done such a great job, you women's libbers. It's all come right back on you. But you're doing what? You're out at the... I'm not saying all my audience. Shaved heads, bare breasts. I kind of like bare breasts myself, but in this situation it just doesn't work very well. You know, out there, you know, oh, we'll do this, do that, you know, women do this, oh, what? You've thrown your femininity away, your womanhood, for silver. God created you to be a certain thing, and you blasphemed him and turned your back on it, wanting to be something else. God damn you. God damn you. Look what you have done. Look what you have sucked this world into. And now, the very court that said that you have a right to destroy your offspring while it's inside what should be the most protected place in the entire universe, says it's okay for some guy who identifies as a woman to compete against you on the athletic field or anything else as a woman. What a joke. They legislated from the bench. Separation of powers was laid to rest yesterday. Why? Because Congress isn't going to do anything to fix it, because that goes along with their entire itinerary, their entire agenda. Congress abrogated a lot of their responsibilities a long time ago. Look at printing and coining money. They gave it to the Federal Reserve. They don't want to touch all these difficult things. They want to sit up there and have their little boy and girl parties, drinking their martinis and stealing money from you. And you just bend over and take it. Again, I'm not talking to my audience here. Most of you folks are very, very good people. I just hope you know I'm venting to these idiots that didn't have awe for God's creation, but wanted to tell God what to do. So congratulations, you women's libbers. I'm not even going to call you ladies. You know, I had a girlfriend once. It was after my wife died. Oh, she was nice looking. She was very pretty, but she had a stone cold heart. It was against abortion. Very good. You know, I thought that was good. That was a plus. And it wasn't just that she was bitchy. I could deal with that. It's that same old thing. I get to do what I want to do, but don't you dare do this or that. Not that I would have done this or that, but it was the lack of principle. She was good at words. She'd say, men should be in charge and all this, but when it really came down to it, she bought into a lot of the liberation stuff. I like strong women. I like good-looking women. I like women with principle, good principles. The SCOTUS just sunk you good ladies yesterday. Sunk you. We're at a point where we'll never get some of this back. Not until the whole thing is destroyed. Which is where it's going. You've heard me talk about the balkanization. And it's well underway. and Trump is helping that to occur. He no longer is trying to save the country, if he ever was. He is there to oversee its destruction. I wonder what they promised him. And I really wonder who's coming in on the other side. Considering he has Molech and Baphomet statues in his house, I can only guess. But we can't not support Trump. He's our only hope. No, you are your only hope. And we need to, if this is going to be a federal system, which is what it was supposed to be, you need to get back to holding your locals accountable who are going along with this nonsense, with the Wuhan reaction, the tracing, the testing, the vaccinations, the closing down of businesses, the destruction of your livelihoods and your liberty. Because Trump isn't going to do it. There were severe DDoS attacks across the country yesterday. I don't know that it was across the world. I'm not a techie guy. I don't understand all this. But I did tell you that they would attack communications, logistics lines, right? And then they'd go into the phase that we're in now, the maneuver and seizing objective phases. And now they're going to go into, as I said, some really bad, serious stuff where people are going to lose limbs and lives. Already have, really, but it's going to get worse. Colonel Manus and Colonel Schlichter saying, buy guns and ammunition. They're not just kidding. Do you realize that the CIA is behind this, obviously, because they're the bankers' people? The very color revolutions and tactics that our government, using the CIA and certain military assets, the thing that we've done around the world to take down countries, we told you the weapons that are used against the enemy will be used against our own people eventually, and they are right now. When this whole thing started with the Wuhan virus back a few months ago, people were saying, oh, it's only going to be 2 weeks. Oh, it's only going to be 30 days. Oh, it's only going to be 3 months. It kept getting, backed off, right? Oh, flatten the curve, and then whatever the excuse. And I could see at that point that it was no longer a beta test. Why should they continue with a beta test when they've got us? I mean, we all laid down our, and when I say this, I'm using it as an allegory. We laid down our arms without firing a shot. We just went along with it. More people have died from drug overdoses, alcohol poisoning, domestic violence, suicide, sickness that they couldn't get treatments for in hospitals because the hospitals wouldn't do anything but COVID stuff. They cut down any kind of elective surgery or even necessary surgeries. And Trump's proud of himself that he protected, we've only got 100,000 people that have died now. Just think what it would have been like if we had done the other. You've had multiple times more than that, Trump. And you did it on purpose. I loathe you. I loathe you. I don't just hate you. I loathe you. I don't like seeing your face. I don't like hearing your voice. And your lies reach to the depths of Hades. Yeah, I think you've done God's work, Trump. He knew you'd do this. He knew that you would do this evil. And because of the wickedness of the American people, the evil that we have promulgated here, killing babies, selling their parts, starting unjust wars, stealing people's property. Poor little widow can't pay her taxes. We take her home. We were ripe for destruction. All I can do at this point is rejoice. I don't want to see it. I don't think we're going to be able to turn from it. We can't pretend it's not there. It's going to consume everything. The United States will be balkanized very shortly. Well, all I'm doing now is pontificating. I've been going for 45 minutes. And in case anybody thinks I'm upset, yes, I'm upset. I've got kids, grandkids, even a couple of great-grandkids. I've got people and friends that I love dearly. And those who don't even know I love them. I don't want to see them go through this. This is evil. It is a deluge of evil. Yeah, we have to confront it, Edelson. I realize that. And of course, I've been pushing this competent authority thing because I know that without it, they can take you away piecemeal, Edelson. They can take you piecemeal. See, that's what they did at Bundy Ranch, you remember? They didn't have the guts to go out there and arrest anybody they thought should be arrested at the time. No. They waited till everybody was disbanded, and then they picked off people one by one. That's what cowards do, Edelson, and that's what they'll do to you. At this point, the most we can hope for is that our neighbors and our friends close by will see the danger and stand up with you. But I don't have a whole lot of hope in that, Edelson. Why? What does the scripture say? Neighbor shall turn against neighbor, father against son, mother against daughter. Nation shall rise up against nation. That doesn't mean just the nations of the world. That's talking about the race wars. And government has placed itself in a position where it wants this, and if you stand up for the right side of it, they come for you. Coeur d'Alene's kind of an exception. I was happy to see that. The whole country should be that way, but that's the point of balkanization. The whole country won't be that way. Remember, I read the things that would happen. Rich Higgins gave us basically an outline of what was going to happen, and I talked about that the other day. Yeah, they have started grabbing more cities. The destruction of our history. Who's saying that slavery is good? No, of course not. But you don't destroy history, because if you destroy history, then you're bound to repeat it. So the whole thing is nonsense of them taking down these statues and things. General Petraeus saying, "Oh, the Confederate generals were traitors. They should be pronounced traitors now, 100 plus years after it occurred, and their names no longer on these different army posts, etc., etc." What a jackass! I didn't like that little fucking twerp when I first met him. He's a little man with a big image of himself. I'm sorry. We're just in a hell of a lot of trouble. No man is going to be able to get us out of this, ladies and gentlemen. No man. I think the lesson out of all this is that and we've known it all along, political systems run by men are not just imperfect, they're goddamn evil. And we have to start having God be our king. And a lot of people talk about that all the time, I realize it. Bring God into your heart and mind. It's very simple. You don't need to know all 600 and so commandments and all that. You only need to know 2 of them. Because if you do everything from the perspective of these 2, you'll be fine. And they are, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and strength. And the second is like unto it, love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 are all the law and the prophets. Just keep those 2 in your heart. If you are considering doing something, just take a second and ask yourself, would I want to do that, have that happen to me? That's all you got to ask. There, and in that thing, you are honoring both God and the second commandment. Somebody's bringing up fasting and prayer there. Sorry, it's a little hard for me to see the chat this morning. It's kind of weird on my screen. Fasting and prayer. The Patriot nurse has talked about that every Thursday. She asks everybody to join her in fasting and prayer. Fasting and prayer works. It's not going to turn the world around. Not right now. But it is something to help you get in tune with what you should be doing. So I would encourage you, yes, to practice fasting and prayer as often as you can, but maybe join Patriot Nurse on hers on Thursday. And usually the way it goes is you skip 2 meals, I think is what she's doing. Maybe the whole day, breakfast and lunch at least. Then maybe having a dinner. Usually when I fast, I go from sundown to sundown. I usually go from like let's say if I'm going to fast on Thursday, I'll really start Wednesday night at sunset and go until Thursday night at sunset. That's how I do it. I'm not saying you have to. Even 1 or 2 meals is a good thing. Some people fast for many days. I think the longest I've gone, I don't want to exaggerate, I think the longest I've gone is 5. I think I did a 5-day fast once. That's right, Jesse. In order for evil to enslave, they must erase the history that it even existed. Sort of like the old thing about Satan, the best thing that Satan ever did is convince the world he doesn't exist. It's that kind of a thing, right, Jesse? Yeah, I know. Edelson, you do a 3-day fast. Meditation is good, Sister Soul. Very true. Very true. And there are different types of meditation, but any of them are good. Better than none. Raise your frequency through your thoughts, Jason Walke. Yeah, I agree with that. Don't keep buying into the entertainment, into the football, into the new fashions and all that stuff. Whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't fall into that. Nancy, holy mackerel! You did a fast for 3 months. God bless you, lady, and I believe it. I do. I think most of you know that I do have contact with Nancy. I've never met her in person, but we talk on the phone, we text, other things, and she is a wonderful lady. Wonderful lady. And I would believe that she did that. She has such a clear mind. She sees things. I asked her one time, I said, how is it that you know this stuff? She says, an idiot could see it. Well, I don't know about that, Nancy. I think it's because you do. You've taken the time to use your life's experience to do some introspection and to learn the difference between right and wrong and to cement principle inside yourself. And then you project it. So I can believe you did it 3 months. I can believe that. It was a piece of cake. Okay. Well, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I probably wither away to nothing. Actually, like I said, I think the longest I've done was maybe it was 7 days. I think I actually did a 7-day fast once. Yeah, first rule of disgusting. True. First rule of fasting is don't talk about it. Well, that kind of goes along with the scripture that talks about that. It says when you fast, clean your face, wear clean clothes, look refreshed. Don't look like you're fasting, right? Don't be sullen. Don't put dirt on your face. Don't make a spectacle that you're fasting. So you're very right. Yeah, you're very right. No one should know you're fasting. In other words, yeah. I mean, they can, but yeah, the point is that you don't make a big issue of it. You're absolutely right. Good on you. Dreaded Judge, very true. Nancy, enjoy your videos. Don't agree with everything, but I enjoy them. Yeah, and you can't expect to agree with somebody on everything, but the exchange of information is good. So I know you and I have had some trouble in the past, Dreaded Judge. I'm glad you said that. Very nice of you. And Mike Conway, yeah, fasting gets easier the longer you do it. Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's true. Until you start getting too weak to stand up and walk up the stairs. And then you've probably gone too far. Okay, well, let's see. We're coming up on an hour, and I've been ranting mostly this morning. I haven't been giving you a lot of information. Uh, so maybe I should recap just the important points. The important points are SCOTUS showed you that the women's rights movement was used against women. It was to take away your womanhood and your femininity, to deny that you are a creation of God the way you are, the way you were meant to be. And now they say that men pretending to be women can compete with you. They didn't act on any of the Second Amendment issues, and they won't. They want to disarm us. They want to, and the police. Just like the police. The police are getting misused right now and abused, right? Well, didn't you see this coming, cops? You use your authority and your badge to bully people, to obey unlawful orders from your superiors to take away people's rights. What did you think was going to happen? You must stand by principle, even if it means your job and your pension. So, are you going to do the same thing with guns? Taking away people's guns? You already have. Red flag laws, you've done it without due process, with mere accusations, no probable cause, and you've done it. You've done it with this whole Wuhan virus thing, citing people for no mask, social distancing, arresting mothers on playgrounds and putting their kids in CPS. What a wicked bunch of people you are. Many of you. You're no better than the Nazi Nuremberg trial. Those words shouldn't be just words on a piece of paper. They should be etched, emblazoned on your heart and on your mind. The Constitution I'm talking about. You can't swear to something and uphold it that if you've never even read the damn thing. We talked about that this deluge of evil is going to run us all over. And Trump is helping it to occur, pretending to be the victim while he's doing it. Giving himself a way out so he doesn't have to take responsibility, which I've said is the mark of his administration, that he refuses to take responsibility. He's going to push through Operation Warp Speed and keeping Fauci and Birx and Gates in the play. Instead of arresting those people, he's keeping them in positions of influence so that he can still say that he has so he'll have plausible deniability and not take responsibility. It's time to jettison him, ladies and gentlemen, totally, and call him out for what he is, because I guarantee you this is what's going to happen. If you see this and you're more worried about him not getting into office because you're hoping that he will that he will go down the road he promised to, but he never will. I saw something this morning where somebody said, well, he's got to have a second term. He's going to do it in a second term. Oh, come on. If he hadn't proposed taking guns without due process, if he hadn't proposed more surveillance, if he hadn't funded Planned Parenthood so that they could use other money for the abortions, it freed up other money that they could use. That's essentially what it was. It was another one of those bait and switch deals. If he had gone after Northam for killing babies and taking their organs, if he had gone after Northam for violating the Second Amendment and the rights, if he had done positive actions in support of the Constitution, the perfect law of liberty, and the Bill of Rights, I'd say, okay, maybe he'll do something in a second term. At this stage, there's no way in hell he's going to do anything. He's got Kushner writing the platform for the Republican Party, a liberal Democrat. I'm not even sure Kushner is the father of Ivanka's children. That's how serious this is. I don't know that, but man, I sure wonder. By proxy, he's going to force you to get tested and vaccinated. Trump, I mean. And he's not doing anything about the illegal immigration problem. We're going to have amnesty in his second term if he's there. And you're going to have big gun control. Just like Mark Pantano said. It's all laid out in front of you. We can no longer give this guy support. Oh, but if we don't have a Republican, he's not a Republican, but if we don't have Trump in office next time, all hell will break loose. All hell is breaking loose, and he's watching it happen and even controlling it. The law and order president is having police officers quit in mass. The law and order president is watching cities being taken over by leftist Marxists and does nothing. What he should do is open to debate. But the big point is he does nothing. What does he do? He sits behind his Oval Office desk and signs an executive order to reform the police. And all he talks about is how much work he's done for the blacks. Not for the Constitution, but for the blacks. His Civil War is going to be better than Lincoln's. Again, I didn't hear him say that, but he means something different than what you think he means. And the patriots in control, they're patriots for the leftist Marxists. But they couched it in language to make you think that they meant that they're patriots like you are. It's been a huge psychological operation of placating the American people and even parts of the world. Okay, I guess that's done. I think my coffee's cold now. It's getting there anyway. Probably another 5 minutes, but I won't keep you that long. Thanks everybody for coming. We're seeing people now, they're not calling them assassinations or whatever. It's like crimes of passion or whatever. But it's moving into that phase, and it's moving very quickly. So I'll just end on this. Buy guns and ammunition. Don't try to protect your home inside your home. Make arrangements with neighbors if this thing goes crazy that you are doing some type of defense in depth outside your neighborhoods, not offensively. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, find somebody in the military who's been trained, and they'll help you to understand that. You can't defend your home inside your home. I mean, that's a last-ditch place. That's where if you end up, all hell breaks loose against the enemy, right? But you don't want it to ever get to the point where you're trying to defend yourself inside in your home. You need to get out and away. Food, water, medicine, ammunition, guns. No offensive behavior at this point, not without competent authority. The country is going to break down. It's already being encouraged to go that way, and it's going to get worse. No longer trust on Trump for anything. He has been a grand deceiver. Wow. It's going to be interesting to see who the actual beast and man of sin are when this thing is over with. Okay, everybody. Like I say, I'll see you in a few days. I'll put something up if something major happens. This morning, I can't say I was giving you any really good information. What in the world did I do here? Oh, there it is. But I thought if I didn't come on, I'd be amiss. So get yourselves ready. This is just getting started. And then, as I said, they're going to have these leftist Marxists and these rioters and these roving bands of criminals attacking you from underneath and from the sides, and the government with their vaccinations and their tracing and their attack on your personal liberty is going to attack you from the top. They're attacking us from all sides. This is a demonic, evil operation. God bless you all. I'll talk to you next time. Out here.